All right, Larry Kruger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket chili. Tell them the Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corners Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Thanks to Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264. And we're, of course, brought to you by Mancini's Sleep World. Looking to upgrade your sleep? Now's the perfect time. Our friends at Mancini's Sleep World are kicking off their spring clearance sale from Tuesday, March the 25th on. And you don't want to miss these deals. Up to 50% off select mattresses, 2 free pillows with any Tempur-Pedic mattress purchase, plus an extra 10% off when you use our exclusive code Krug10. So go into Mancini's, click the description, make sure you use the code Krug10 to get that discount. Once again, you got to click in the description and make sure you use the code Krug10 to get 10% off at any Mancini's locations or online at sleepworld.com. And thanks to Mancini's for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, today we're going to do a little exercise as we're getting down to the final 3 weeks before the upcoming NFL draft, the biggest draft in Niners history, really, because the Niners want to go back to the Super Bowl. And man, they've left themselves an awful lot of needs. And now with Brock Purdy's contract probably looming and George Kittle's extension also looming, man, there's never been a time where the 49ers need to get more out of the draft than what they need to get this year out of the draft. They have several needs that need to be filled in this draft. So what we're going to do today, and for years and years, the 49ers, and we're going back to the Tony Rosano days when the Niners dynasty first began in the early 80s. The Niners scouting department way, way, way back when kind of separated themselves from some of the other teams in the league for how they went after players and what the kinds of players they prioritized and wanted. The Niners had a system called that they would look for quabs, and it's QABS. It stands for quickness, agility, balance, and strength. And so the 49ers back in the day would look for guys who had, while other teams were looking for maybe other things, the 49ers at least in the Tony Rosano days, were looking for players that had quabs, quickness, agility, balance, and strength. And of all so the combine comes, and if you look at all the drills at the combine, if there's one drill that really does probably have the best impact or, gives you the best replication of quickness, agility, balance, and strength, it's probably the 3-cone drill. Because you have to be able to turn and stop and start, and you've got to have that quickness, you got to have agility, you got to have balance, you got to have explosiveness, which in a form is a form of strength. So to me, if you look at the 3-cone drill, and I think the 49ers have looked heavily at it. Why? Because, Ricky Pearsall had the second best 3-cone drill of anybody in the draft last year. Isaac Guerendo and Jacob Cowing were ranked really, really highly in the 3-cone. The Niners signed Drake Nugent as an undrafted player as a center, the former Stanford Cardinal and Michigan Wolverine. He had great numbers in the 3-cone drill. So somebody suggested to me this week, hey, why don't you do a mock draft using the 3-cone drill as the kind of the barometer, that you'll only do a draft of guys who excelled in the 3-cone drill. And you know what? At first I was like, that seems kind of limiting. But then I went and looked at the list, and there's a good variety of players. And I do believe that the Niners are putting a lot of emphasis in the 3-cone drill indirectly: quickness, agility, balance, and strength. Now, that was years ago that they prioritized that, but the Niners have gone for a different kind of player than a lot of teams. The Niners like a smaller, quicker player on the offensive line than some of the other teams in the league. But quickness, agility, balance, and strength, if there's one combine drill that would kind of sum it up, it's probably the 3-cone drill. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a mock draft right now. And we're just going to try to draft guys that are only have quabs, quickness, agility, balance, and strength. And we're going to define that by guys who tested well in the 3-cone drill. So here we go. We're in the Pro Football Network draft simulator. So we're off and running. And let's see. Here we are at 11. Now we may try to trade back, but we're looking for quickness, agility, balance, and strength. Okay, so right here, just looking at the players right here and knowing, who's on the board as far as some of the guys who do represent that quickness, agility, balance, and strength. There's a lot of interesting names here that are on this list, but a guy who tested really highly in this. Now, I probably would look to trade back if there was an offer here. Is there an offer to trade back? No, there's no trade offers here. So you basically have to pick. So I'm looking at the list of the list of players, and who really fits this list of who's got the quickness, the agility, the balance, and the strength as it's measured in the 3-cone. So who in the 3-cone drill is available to the 49ers at this point? Well, let me see here. As Matthew Golden of Texas has a really good 3-cone drill. He was highly rated in the 3-cone. But do you want to go receiver here? Most likely not, right? Receiver would seem to be not the direction that the 49ers would want to go. But if they did, a guy like that would make a lot of sense. He had a 6.85 3-cone, which is an incredible 3-cone for Matthew Golden. But you know who else had a really good 3-cone, and is that more of a position of need? Though you could argue that's a position of need as well. Is linebacker Jihad Campbell. Jihad Campbell for Alabama had a 6.85 3-cone, best among linebackers, I believe. Also, Eugene Asante had a really good one as well. Let me see Asante's 3-cone. His 3-cone was also really good. Eugene Asante had 6.95. So, if we're staying with going with guys who have great 3-cone numbers, we could also go for Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College. Ezeraku has incredible numbers at the 3-cone. And since, you're looking for the defensive end, Ezeraku's 3-cone was 6.94 as a defensive end. So let's prioritize 3-cone, and we'll go with Donovan Ezeraku as a defensive end because it's a position of need. All right, so now we're down here at 43. We're going to bypass trades in this thing. We're just going to try to pick, and we're going to look for, as we said, guys who have really good 3-cone numbers. And I'm looking at who's available here, and you're looking for guys who have really good 3-cone numbers. Tate Ratledge has good 3-cone numbers. Omarion Hampton has really good 3-cone numbers. Carson Schlesinger, the linebacker from UCLA, has got really good 3-cone numbers. Jonah Savanea from Arizona, the big offensive guard, he has good 3-cone. So let me see, who do we want to go with? Tate Ratledge from Georgia has a really good 3-cone. I would say right here you went with Ezeraku. Otherwise, I would say you may want to come back with Oluwafemi Oladejo. But you have that player already taken there. You could go with Schlesinger. He's really interesting. He's got a good 3-cone. Harold Fannin. Let's see if Harold Fannin's on the board. He has a very good 3-cone. He is. And he's let's go Harold Fannin here. So Harold Fannin from Bowling Green is a very good 3-cone number. One of the best 3-cone drills of anybody And so, once again, that shows strength, agility, balance, explosiveness. And so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that. Okay, so now we're here at pick 75. And let's see who's on the board that also has good three cone numbers. Omar Norman Lott. That's an interesting one. Shamar Turner. Um, who really has exceptional three cone numbers that's on this board? Um, man, I really like Xavier Restrepo. Okay, Bayshul Tootin does. Bayshul Tootin from Vatek, the running back, has tremendous three cone, incredibly explosive. Now you've got Ezraku and you've got Fannin. You don't have an offensive lineman. Tate Ratledge would be nice. Um, if he had a better workout numbers. Um, it's you're looking at this list going, okay, Marion Hampton, but I'll say Bayshul Tootin. Bayshul Tootin, if you look at some of the three cone numbers, he had a 6.89 three cone, which was better than anybody else, better than Marion Hampton, better than everybody else out there. So that's a good one. So now we got Bayshul Tootin in the mix. All right, now let's see who's on the board. Best players on the board now. You're still looking for people who did well in the three cone. Um, hmm, Rondé Gadsden's an interesting name right there. The tight end, the tight end from Syracuse. That's an interesting one. Jordan Phillips from Maryland had some great workout numbers. Let's take him. He was one of the kings of the combine. So you got him at 100. Now we're at 113 on the board. And what are we looking for now? Let's see. Is there maybe an offensive weapon? Um, let's see. Brashard Smith has a fantastic three cone. I'm just looking at some of the three cone numbers right now. Brashard Smith from SMU is an explosive mover. No question about that. He really moves well. And so he's really high on this list. They've got Brashard Smith. Let's see where he is here. Yeah, there he is. He's Brashard Smith from SMU, 6.98 three cone, second only to Jaden Blue from Texas. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Brashard Smith, and this guy's really explosive. So let's take Brashard Smith here. So now we've taken basically between Ezraku, Fannin, Tootin, Phillips, and Brashard Smith. We've taken a lot of guys who have great three cone drills. All right, let's see who else might be around who's got good workout numbers. Zoff Frazier has a really good workout number for University of Texas, San Antonio. Big corner, runs in the 4.36s. He's got one of the better. Zoff Frazier's got one of the better three cones in the combine this year. I'm looking at Zoff Frazier from Texas San Antonio, and tall, angular, 6'2" corner, probably going to be a little bit later in the draft. Um, let's see what his number says. Yeah, so he's at 6'8", or let's see, 6'8" 5". Yeah, 6'8" 5" for Zoff Frazier. That's a great number. That's cooking. So let's go with Zoff Frazier. Gives the Niners another corner. So now you got another guy who really dominated the three cone. You got Zoff Frazier. You've got now you're probably looking for a defensive end at some point. And let's look down this list. Another guy who did well is Ethan Downs from Oklahoma, who's 6'3", 270, really has a great three cone, 7.10, one of the better numbers for anybody on the three cone. Just to put that in perspective, that was faster than Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. So let's go Ethan Downs here. Now, granted, this is a little bit of a reach for Ethan Downs at pick 147, but Definitely, he's got that kind of high level athleticism, and you're adding a player who's got great athleticism coming off the edge in the middle of the draft. All right, now you're at pick 160. Another guy who's got fantastic um, three cone numbers is the guy that we had on the show last week, the Auburn Tiger himself, Eugene Asante. And let's see if where Asante is in this mock. If he's there, he is. So they've got him way too far down the list. So he's here at 160. Um, so you're in a good spot there. Eugene Asante, he had an incredible, he's a 695 three cone drill. And that's a really, really good number. That's a really good number for him. So now let's go back to corner and let's see um, who is left on the board. If there's somebody left on the board that makes sense. I don't see anybody there. Um, this is the tough part in the draft. So let's go to tight end. Let's see if there's a tight end that makes some sense. That is going to be that excelled also in the three cone. Okay, I don't see anybody there. Let's check running back, even though we don't really need a running back per se. I do love Khalil Mullings. I'm a big fan of Taj Brooks, but Taj Brooks is not there. Shunderick Powell is an incredible mover. Let's take him from Central Arkansas. Explosive runner, really explosive mover. Um, I'm trying to think who else we have here that potentially could be um, a good three cone guy. Let's look at quarterback. Brady Cook has a great three cone drill. If you look at the quarterback from Missouri, he wound up with one of the best three cone drills. He's kind of an underrated prospect in my mind. Brady Cook had the best workout numbers of almost any of the players at the quarterback position at the combine. Now, very few of them worked out, but Brady Cook has a 7.10 three cone. He also had a 153 10-yard split. To put that in perspective, Brock Purdy had a 154 10-yard split. So let's take Brady Cook. I think Brady Cook's going to be an interesting guy. And so that gets us to pick 252. And let's just go up top and see if there's anybody that really jumps out at this point. And there's a lot of good players still left here at the end of the draft. Um, okay, you've got the quarterback, you've got a running back, you've got linebacker, edge, corner, running back, defensive tackle. I don't see an offensive lineman. Let's go offensive line. I think there's some, to me, the great value here on day 3 at the offensive line is that there's some swing tackles that could still be there. Caleb Etienne from BYU, I think he's a good candidate for sure. Miles Hinton from Michigan, who started at Stanford, I think would be a great call as well. Let's go Hinton here. I think Hinton could be a good. So this is not trading back. This is just the guys who did really, really well and graded out very, very highly in the three cone drill. Donovan Ezeraku. So we started with the edge rusher. We went with Harold Fannin. Harold Fannin is like a big running back at tight end. He's shorter than most tight ends, but he's like a running back, and then he could do a really nice job replacing Debo Samuel with some of those plays in the middle of the field. Bashul Tutin has got 4.3 speed as a running back, home run hitter, very explosive. Jordan Phillips, former high school wrestler, very explosive defensive tackle from Maryland. Brashard Smith is a running back, but he really could be flexed out and used as a wide receiver. Zoff Frazier, exceptional three cone drill corner from Texas San Antonio. Ethan Downs, an edge rusher from Oklahoma. Eugene Asante, the linebacker from Auburn. And then we finished up with Shunderick Powell, who's a 4.2 burner from Central Arkansas. Brady Cook, a quarterback from Missouri, and Miles Hinton, the swing tackle from Michigan. So if you prioritize the three cone, this is what it potentially could look like. And I'm telling you, Ezeraku is a beast. The fact that he had great workout numbers and handles incredibly well. He's almost like a sports car who can take corners at high speeds. And he had 17 sacks. He was a very productive player that also worked out at a really high level. Fannin did not run a great 40 time, so he probably is going to be there at 43 for sure. But he also has some great run after the catch ability and is a guy who's ready to step in. I mean, this guy's got great ball skills. You don't catch the ball as much as or as well as he did this year without having really amazing ball skills. So I could see where he would be very attractive to the 49ers. Bashul Tutin, the one thing that Kyle Shanahan loves in his running backs is speed, and Tutin's got the most of it at 4.32. Jordan Phillips would give them that big physical defensive tackle who can really anchor inside. I love Jordan Phillips' game. Brashard Smith, I think, could be the guy who people are talking about. That's a guy that people are going to buy the jersey of Brashard Smith because he's an electric playmaker. Zoff Frazier is a mid-round developmental corner with a lot of speed. Downs has got speed coming off the edge and a good motor from Oklahoma. Asante is your replacement for Dre Greenlaw. He's a little undersized, but he's a hyperactive tackling machine. Shunderick Powell is a running back, but he's really a dynamic return guy. And I think he could be an electric player. Great personality, too. I just talked to him last week. Brady Cook is a winner. That's all he is. I mean, they're guys with bigger arms, but he's athletic as hell and he's a winner. And then Miles Hinton. Miles Hinton has got absolutely first round prototypical NFL size strength. We're talking about 6'6, 325, great proportions, long arms, smart as hell. I mean, really good prospect. Left tackle, right tackle experience. I think that would be a fantastic pick in the 7th round. All right, there you go. There is our mock draft with the emphasis being the 3-cone drill. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner, Sports Cards and Collectibles for sponsoring this video. Thanks to Mancini Sleep World for sponsoring us as well in this video. And thanks to all of you for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.